Oh, welcome to my place. I was at Spotlight the other day and I found the most marvellous fabric. Have a look at this. All printed and stenciled, and these come in big strips, all printed, ready to go. And I love that these can turn into, just like that, table runners or placemats. Now, they come in a strip, about 2 to a strip. What I did was I needed 8, so I bought 8 individual little sections. And the other thing I wanted was, you could bring those both together and have them as like reversible, but I wanted to bring in another look. So what I did was I found another fabric that has similar colorways, and I loved all of this gorgeous writing. Isn't it just a beautiful? I love that French inspired shabby chicness of this whole project. Wait till you see how it comes together. Right, you could, if you wanted to, cut these out into individual pieces, and you could back them if you wanted to, or if you want to be like me, when I got them home and it was like, oh, the thought of making 8 of these for my table was just a little bit too much. So what I've done is I've made one for each end, and I've left those in one long straight strip because it is long enough for my table. Right, once you've got that, what you need to do is to iron it and make sure there are no wrinkles in it. Wrinkles we do not want. And sometimes what will happen if you've got wrinkles and you bring your 2 pieces of fabric together, when you turn that out, that wrinkle or that excess fabric is always going to be there. So you've got to make sure that all of your fabrics that you bring together are always exactly the same size. The other thing I did with this is I actually took it to the overlocker and overlocked those edges. Now, it was sort of a kind of a good idea, but actually it wasn't, because sometimes when you've got the wrong tension on your machine, what will happen is, see how that there's all puckered? Now that, if that happens to you when you're doing this, what you need to do is to actually just stretch that out and then take it to the iron, and then as you're ironing it, put it onto steam and just gently stretch that out so that that whole seam becomes nice and neat and straight, because we want these to look good, because don't forget it's going to be on the table and you don't want your guests looking at your work thinking, ooh, she didn't do a very good job of that. Right, so from there, let me just get rid of this here out of the way. So what you need to do is put this on a flat work surface like so, and then you need to get another piece of fabric exactly the same size, and you bring those together. Now, as I've already said, and I continuously say, measure, 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 and cut once, and that way you will know that you're not making a mistake. Right, bring those 2 together, and that's right sides of fabric together, like so. And if you needed to, what I would suggest is you give it another iron again. As I said, we don't want any wrinkles, and if I see that there, can you see that little bumpy bit there? We do not want that. That has got to be absolutely flat. And also, when I turn it over, see how I haven't got my edges together? That's because that lump's there. So what you need to do is to stretch that out. Then the other thing, if you are a new sewer, what I suggest you do is always pin, and then what I do is I bring the corners there together and then bring those corners together, and just check before you do any sewing that that is all nice and flat. So this here has to be pinned all the way around, all along there, up that side, and then along this top edge here, and once again leave an area big enough so that you can turn it right sides together. Now the other thing, if you wanted to do some kind of padding, you need to have cut that to exactly the same length as the other 2 layers, and then this would get pinned on top of this fabric like so. So that would be pinned to there. Now I need to just go left of right for a little minute and tell you that with the backing, there are lots of different types that you can get. I really love this one. Now you might not be able to see, but in here, this here's got like little wee sort of like raised little wee sticky bits like a Velcro. And what's fabulous about this is you can actually iron that onto a fabric. Maybe the fabric isn't as firm as you want it. Well, if you iron that onto the fabric, it's like a stiffening and it'll make it all lovely and firm and will actually give you the stability of your fabrics. Now, I also need to go left to right again and tell you that when you are using this particular fabric here, which is like a linen, whatever fabric you back it with, make sure that they're same kind of weights. And if you're using this kind of a fabric that doesn't actually move, this fabric here, you wouldn't use something that's stretchy like this. That is the worst thing to be sewing, a straight and a movable fabric, but I'll talk about that another day. So right, once that's all been pinned and you're all ready to go, you take it to your sewing machine and sew all around the edges. I have already done that for you, and let me just show you what it looks like. So here's one that I've already done. Now the other thing, and I've said this, I have told you this before, but I'm just going to tell you again. You've got your 1 centimetre seam allowance here. Now make sure that you clip across there, clip across all of your edges, because when you turn this inside out, make sure you don't go too close, because if you do, what will happen is you will cut through those little stitches into that corner, and you will not be happy with yourself because you'll have to do the whole thing again. Right, where is my little opening? Is it this end? Or is it this end? It's this end. Here it is. Right, so once you've done that, put your hand into here, go right down into those corners and pull that back to right size. Now I haven't bothered padding this out because like none of my other tablecloths have been padded, and really this is just to make the table look really nice, isn't it? So you know, and there's 2 layers here. Right, so once you get to there, give that a good shake. It's like a big snake. And then where's my needle? Get your needle here and then get into here like so. Take that down to there and very, very gently just push those edges there out, and that will give you a really lovely, nice, neat edge. And that's the difference between professional work and non-professional work. So I'll just do that again and I'll show you. Don't push it too hard, because if you have gone too far into that edge, what will happen is that needle, I'll show you what will happen. If you go too hard, oh no, it's not going to do it because I must have done a good job when I was sewing it, which is even better. But you know, sometimes you can go right through the edge and it's not very nice. And then go up to this end here. Oh, see? See what happens? Oh dear. I'm going to have to turn that inside out and I'm going to have to do that again. And that is really going to annoy me and frustrate me because I haven't got time to be mucking around doing this. Okay, gently into there. Then when you have done that, the next thing that you have to do is go back to your iron. Little tip for you new sewers, measure twice, cut once. Pin. Then once you have inverted any of your work, any seam that you ever do, what you need to do is you need to iron it. Now, this is what I do. Wet fingers. Watch this. And I just gently just do that so that I can bring those seams out all neat and tidy. So that whole thing just gets all ironed. And this is when you're going to see whether you have done a good job. See how I've got that little bit there and I've got that bit there? We'll just take that out like that and then iron that back into itself, because this is reversible, so we don't want to see what's happening on the back when we've got this section in the front. So iron all around there, and then when you get to this little bit of this area here where you left it open, now you and I both know that we had a 1 centimetre seam allowance, so just iron down there like that, turn that over, and then repeat again by taking that 1 centimetre over. And look how neat and tidy this becomes when you do that sewing. And the other thing is that where I finished off that seam, I've still got that little bit I've left a little length of cotton so that I can just get a needle and then gently, gently, gently just slip stitch across there. But make sure that that is flat before you do any stitching. I hope I have been of assistance to you, because I think that these are very flash and what's more, great gifts. Thanks for coming to my place, and I'll see you another day.